Pistol.
There we go.
Whip.
There we go. There we go.
Pistol.
Pistol.
Pistol. Let's go.
Did this shit go live?
There was four
YouTube?
people
Yeah,
there was 4 people waiting in this shit like hours ago, bro.
Yeah. People were pulling up for this one. It was
16
making sure they don't miss.
Now let's go. What's
up, chat?
Jody Breeze.
Big Jody.
Morning Haze.
The goat.
Saucy Zay. Wolfwood.
Zay, he's alright.
Anime Pattern. What's up, man?
Easy.
Everybody pulling up in the chat.
Whole lot of gang shit.
Aw, thanks, Hayes.
Sebastian, what's up, man?
Oh my god, I didn't see that the Sebastian name, and I like thought about my son. I was like, Sebastian, is he in the shot? And it's just like we're just not.
How do you sneak in here?
We're not like actually live yet. What's up, Sebastian? Adame.
Nothing stealthy like a child.
Hey, if y'all haven't yet, go retweet the talking to the chat. Go retweet the
Retweet that monk.
Get everybody up in here, man.
Pull up.
Pull up. Oh. Dude, I'm excited for this one.
I am too.
This is such an easy topic. Like this is like something that should have been done.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many weapons and everything that it's like we can do so many, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part fucking 15 of this topic.
Anime Summit in the chat. What's up, man? 2020's been alright so far, Pattern.
Is that Sam?
Honestly,
That's
really good.
Oh, how's it 2022? It's good. It's good. I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, what kind of year is 2022 going to be? Because 2021 was like the blink of a fucking eye, and then 2020 felt like an actual decade itself as a single year. And it's like, I wonder what the speed of the year is gonna be. Like all the crazy shit that's probably going to happen because the world's going to shit. Dude, Bob Saget died.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
No.
Yeah, dude, they found him dead in a hotel room.
What?
There was no, according to the article that I saw, there was no evidence of foul play or drug use. At least yet. They're gonna do the autopsy, obviously, and then
it's always your girl. What up, Sam? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no.
But that's fucked up, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he was a comedian, right? And like you always hear comedians joke about how like they don't want to die in a hotel room.
Yeah,
like so many comedians do, and that's just so sad that Bob Saget would go out like that, man.
It's tough, man.
Bro.
Rip the guy, a legend. God, the Bob Saget meme video.
Betty White died, man.
Betty White died. Rip Betty, the god.
I feel like somebody else died recently as well, like a well-known famous person.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
Yep. Very sad. Very sad. But yeah, we're just gonna kick it in here with you guys with the chat for about 15 minutes. I mean, at least 10 more. Since we've already been kind of live for a couple now, but we'll go about 10-15 minutes with y'all, and then we'll get the conversation started.
John Madden. Yes.
John Madden died?
John Madden died, yeah.
Football! No!
Yeah, John Madden died.
No, dude.
He's out of there. It's tough.
Oh my god, that's so sad. He was like super old too though, right? Like I remember he had like stark white hair in like the early 2000s. Yeah, I remember he was already old. He's one of those motherfuckers that have been old our whole life, like fucking Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. Yo, when Morgan Freeman goes, I'm literally gonna like be so devastated. I'm gonna flip my desk.
I don't want to think about it.
I'm gonna destroy my apartment, yo, when he fucking goes. Like I can't even. I'm not prepared.
Ever since I was a boy, people have loved the sound of my voice.
The people have loved the sound of my voice. I'm a very good narrator.
Dude, he's getting up there too, isn't he, man? Shit, he's like 80.
Dude, he's like old and gray, yeah.
Yeah, fuck, dude. How is Clint Eastwood still around? Isn't he like 110?
110, no.
I swear to God, that dude was like... another one that's been old our whole
I
life.
remember Gran Torino when I was a youth, and so like he was
Yeah,
old then.
he was rickety, creaking, squeaking in Gran Torino too.
What are you talking about, Clint Eastwood?
Yeah,
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 dude.
Clint Eastwood's got to be
Clint-
decrepit by now. Like he's got to be out of there, just done for.
they got that motherfucker
Clint
on. They got
Lock,
that
Pistol
motherfucker on
Eastwood.
strings. Oh shit. Oh, Morgan Freeman is God. Yeah, that's right.
Don't speak Morgan into existence.
I know, that's like so sad to think about, dude. Like that's gonna be like soon, like probably not, like hopefully not like soon, but like that's come, that's on the docket.
Oh, man.
That's fucked up.
It's how I feel about watching like that last Jackie Chan movie, The Foreigner, and I was like, I love seeing Taken done by an Asian guy, but you're old, man.
Oh man,
And he's broken every bone in his body twice. Like I miss Jackie.
yeah, I miss Jackie too. I've never broken a bone.
Yeah.
I've only broken a few. My mom
I've
asked
broken my
me.
wrist.
My mom asked me one time when I was a kid, like, Alex, how are you so accident prone? And I shrugged my shoulders, and then my pinky caught in my belt loop. We heard a snap, and we're like, what's that sound? And then a second later, I was like, I know what it is. And she's like, trying not to laugh because I'm proving her point.
Oh my god, moms are always right, man.
Wolfwood says Eastwood is directing movies and stuff still.
Yeah, he
That's
is.
Good.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's tight.
Yeah, he is still doing shit like that. Weren't they gonna make a new Indiana Jones movie with like Harrison Ford?
I thought Harrison Ford was just like he wanted to treat
Harrison Ford
Harrison...
is he's the original.
That's right.
Yeah, he's indie.
Yeah,
he's the original indie.
But I remember like in like
Saying it
Crystal,
like that,
the Crystal Skull movie. I remember they had Shia LaBeouf in there, and I thought that they were gonna do like segue him into the role of like Indiana Jones, like moving forward.
Yeah.
Because I thought that would be really cool, and then they just never made another movie. Right? I think that was the last one. But dude, I would be super down for Shia LaBeouf continuation of Indiana Jones, just to make that a legacy character and just keep it moving, make him like the new James Bond. That'd be dope.
Yeah. And then it's just like, just call themselves indie. Just like, hey, you're the new Indiana, right? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, type shit. You know what I mean? Dude, Jackie Chan Adventures. Who just brought that up?
Jackie Chan.
Dude, Lad Juzo.
Nice. Yumo Gwe Gwe Fi Mi Xiao. Yumo Gwe Gwe Fi Mi Xiao.
You know the translation for that stuff is like demons, ghosts, witches, goblins, get the fuck out. Like it's basically that. It's basically like a list of spirits, and it just says go away.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Because Gui is devil. So if they say like Lao Gui to you, a Chinese person's calling you a foreign devil. Like,
holy moly.
Yeah.
Ooh, cool
My mom's
question.
white as hell, so like we heard that. I was like,
damn.
Cool question before we get started. Do you from Anime Pattern, do you guys think although Demon Slayer has surpassed records with films and whatnot, other anime like Naruto and Dragon Ball are still more known and recognizable worldwide to the general population? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like when you talk about like iconic, I don't know. Everyone's interpretation of like the term iconic seems to be pretty different. But the way that I kind of look at it is like, does my mom know what it is? You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about like fiction, you know what I mean? When we're talking about like cartoons and like comic books and things like that, I'll be like, yo, mom, Goku. And she'll be like, oh yeah, Dragon Balls. She'll like, yo, mom, Ash Ketchum. Like, oh yeah, Pokemons. Like Yugi. Like, yeah, I remember you, Gogi. You know, like if they have like a if they have a memory, or if they can like be like, or if it's recognizable to my parents, I feel like that's iconic. And Demon Slayer, it's like my mom wouldn't know what Demon Slayer is.
yeah, no, my folks wouldn't know Demon Slayer, but my mom remembers like Naruto and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. And then I don't know, like I feel like Demon Slayer, while extremely popular, was like, I feel like in the circles that I follow, like only like my anime nerd friends knew about Demon Slayer, but like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z were long going enough that they kind of saturated the media. Like the Area 51 raid and people like ninja running around, like all those vines with those kids, like Naruto running around.
Yeah, like shit
screaming
like
and
that,
stuff.
you know, like Demon Slayer doesn't got like a Naruto run, you know what I mean? Like it's got like episode 19 hype on Twitter, and that's about it in the West. You know, like
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously in Japan it's going to be a lot bigger of a deal, but I mean, as far as like across the world, I don't think Demon Slayer is there yet, despite its sales. But
I think that Demon Slayer is not, say, iconic, but is what I would say like a fantastic commercial success.
yeah, absolutely. I
You
remember when
know,
I remember. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
because like I feel like it's a difference between like it's never gonna be a cult classic. It's like one of those movies that was like a box office success,
Yeah,
like Avatar,
yeah,
but like no one rewatches Avatar. We watched it once and then we called it a day. But
yeah.
like you take like Blade Runner, which was like a financial flop,
Yep, that's right.
it's iconic.
Yeah.
That is iconic. That has like influenced the culture.
And it's like you go back into something like Blade Runner and you look at that opening scene and it's like, man, how did this just not just like shake the block up like drastically like across the globe like when this came out? You got fucking music by Vangelis. Like you go back and just like look at the you know, all of the shit that's on that docket, or all the shit that's on that just list of accomplishments and cool things that have to do with Blade Runner, and you're like, holy shit, how did this flop originally? You got Harrison Ford in his prime. You got fucking what's that? What's the dude who plays Roy Batty? Another famous like actor. There's so much star power, I feel like, in Blade Runner 2, and it's like how did it do that? That's crazy. And that's in like the time where like Tron and shit was happening, and like cyberpunk wasn't really a thing yet, but sci-fi was like a big deal in film at that time, and it's like, man, what happened?
Yeah.
But
Accurate.
yeah, I don't know. Demon Slayer, I don't think is there yet. I remember I was in when I was studying Japanese in high school. I remember my sensei was talking about iconic symbols in just the world, and she was talking about some kind of statistic where the most recognizable uh the most recognizable things like characters and like logos and shit, it's like the Superman logo, the Batman logo, Super Mario, and Michael Jordan. And then I think Goku was like the fifth one. So like if you go up to anyone, the point she was trying to make is that if you go up to anyone on the planet and show them a picture of these characters or show them these things, like they'll know what it is. They'll recognize it. They'll be able to tell you like, oh, that's the Super Mario Brothers. Like, oh, that's Michael Jordan. Like, oh, that's Goku. Oh, that's Superman. Oh, that's Batman. You know what I mean? Like everyone will know that no matter where you go in the world, basically. Pretty much everywhere you go in the world. But that's the point she was making. So
Uh, Sebastian, I think you raise a perfectly valid point in that the Demon Slayer had that kind of like perfect timing.
yeah.
One of the few times movie theaters opened during a lockdown
Oh,
in
sure.
Japan, and
Yeah.
like it was at a point near our collective pandemics where governments were just like, hey, you know what, you've been doing good, cough cough, not you America, but like we're gonna open up the movie theaters and like you guys can do like, you know, spaced seatings. And so people are like, we've been in this for a year and a half, we go watch a movie. You know. And then and Naruto is that guy from Fortnite. I don't play it, but I know it.
I don't play
See,
Fortnite either.
that is why you don't see Demon Slayer in Fortnite.
Yeah.
What's more iconic? Just saying.
What that's a point. That's a point right there.
You could see Demon Slayer in Fortnite
You
soon,
could
though.
see it in Fortnite. It's
I have
definitely not
friends
too late.
recently.
I think
Oh, sorry.
Wolfwood makes a good point here. I definitely believe Demon Slayer is far more popular with the younger crowd. Dragon Ball feels more like an older person's anime these days.
What's that? I didn't turn up my hearing aid.
It's a fair point, you know?
Yeah, it's something that's just gonna take time to like see, because like sure you want to say that like Dragon Ball and like Naruto are like older head, you know, series that have had the time to build up and become iconic, and Demon Slayer could definitely get there. I just don't think that right now, with the amount of time that's passed, like even with its success, that it's just on that level yet. Like it like literally like you need time, not sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like nothing saturates generations like time, and like Dragon Ball had that kind of like Dragon Ball and Naruto I feel like have those like early advantages in like that we had like Toonami and all these like anime things, but like they only played that, right? It was very repetitive and Toonami ran for a very long time, but they only showed like a handful of shows. They didn't have um the wealth and abundance of possibilities like we do now in an era where Demon Slayer is the new hot thing.
Plus, there's like for the older people is the last thing I'll kind of say before we get started on the actual like episode and topic that we're here for tonight. But it's like there was like the previous generation of anime fans had to jump through so much more hoops to get the anime. You know what I mean? Like you had Toonami, and then you had you know, Fox Kids Saturday Morning or whatever. At least over here in the West, you had all of these things that kind of introduced us to anime when we were younger. And it was that time before the internet, you know, like when the internet was still kind of a baby, you know what I mean? It wasn't you know, this what we have now where it's literally everything, and everything is like, you know, the click of a button away, all of the streaming sites, all of the illegal ones, you know, like everything wasn't as accessible, so you had to go to fucking Suncoast, you know, and pay $20 to get a fucking, you know, issue or a, you know, a copy of Dragon Ball DVD with like 5 episodes on it. Just like you had to jump through so many hoops just to consume the media, and that makes it stick in your mind and in your heart longer, because it's like it's a part of a time that's just like not a bit like, you know, it's not a thing anymore. Everything is just so much more accessible. People can just blitz through any series from start to finish and then move on to the next one. So it's not as big of a phenomenon, I want to say, now for the older series, because everything is so accessible, if that makes sense. But
true.
But okay, let's do this. You guys ready to go? Ready to start it off?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tangential Tie-Ins. I'm Knox.
Eagle.
And I'm Mellow Yenis.
And we're finally getting back into the tie-ins, and we're talking about the best weapons in anime tonight. This is a topic that it feels like we probably should have already had inside of this series, but we're here now, and this is a pretty dense topic with a lot of options inside of it. So I'm excited to see what picks that we all have. For those of you who don't know, this is like our second show that we started, you know, just for more general anime and manga discussion topics. Alongside our main weekly Shonen Jump reviews that we usually do, where we cover the current events in 6 manga. This is more of like a general, you know, pick a topic, break it down for about an hour to an hour and a half with you guys here in the chat. But before we get started, of course, we'd like to ask you to take a look at the description down below. That's going to be where you can follow us on all of our individual social media accounts like Twitter. You'll be able to listen to the Project Manga podcast wherever you normally consume your podcast, Spotify, Apple, what have you. There's going to be links to support the podcast and the brand in general in any way that you so choose, if you would feel so inclined, including our online store and our Patreon. We have some new designs in the online store that recently just updated. We collaborated with some really talented artists on Twitter, and we made a new line of merchandise that's inspired by anime and manga tropes, recognizable anime and manga tropes. So check that out, the link down there in the description for that as well. Also, Best Manga of 2021 award show is on, and we'll be doing that here like within the next month. We're in the nomination phase right now, and the link is down in the description as well if you want to join in on that. But getting into the discussion tonight, best weapons in anime. This is something that's really important to the area of anime and manga that we kind of discuss specifically as like a shonen-centric channel. Inside of that area of anime and manga storytelling, it's pretty much all about fighting and action, so, and superpowers, and you get a bunch of special weapons all over the place. So we're going to highlight some of our favorites tonight, and of course we want to communicate with you guys in the chat as well. So if you guys want to start filling the chat up with some of you guys' favorite weapons from across anime and manga that you want us to kind of bring up and discuss on the episode, be happy to do that. If there are like a bunch of, you know, comments and chats with a bunch of questions and a bunch of weapons that you guys want us to get to, and we can't get to all of them, obviously we're probably not going to be able to do that while we're trying to have our own conversation with our own picks. But if you absolutely need to make sure that your question or your comment is addressed, feel free to use the super chat. That'll bump it up in the queue and do a special space where we can't possibly miss it, and then we will organically weave that comment or question into our discussion and make sure that we get to it before the end of the convo. But with all that said, let's get started. Who wants to start? Who wants to go first?
I think I can take the first one.
Okay, what you got, Eagle?
So, one of my favorite weapons of all time, most definitely across the board in any anime or manga that I've read or watched, is definitely the Spirit Spear Castier-Fold.
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 Fuck yeah.
It's got like a fucking 7 forms if I remember correctly.
Something like that. I dropped 7 Deadly Sins like right after the very first 10 Commandments arc, so I don't know if
I ended up dropping it before the end, not that early, but before the end.
Yeah. But no, this is a good one, man. I do remember 7 forms.
Spirit Castier-Fold, man.
Yeah.
The dopest thing about it is the fact that obviously it's a shape-shifting, like basically living weapon.
Yeah.
And you can have like a regular spear form. He's got a form that turns into a giant flower and like shoots a beam.
Yes,
he's got a form that is like a giant bear that protects him and shit.
Yeah, I think that's Guardian. Yep.
All types of crazy shit, man. Like,
yeah, I remember being like,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just remember being blown away by the weapon because I'm pretty sure that that's like the first introduction of like a sacred treasure or a national treasure that we kind of saw for real inside of 7 Deadly Sins, because King was introduced pretty early, and I remember that like nobody had their sacred weapon for different reasons across the team that we had gotten so far. And when King was introduced in 7 Deadly Sins, he had it. Yeah, he already had it, and he was kind of introduced as like an antagonist or a villain. At least that was like the kind of like the vibe that I got like at first, because when you first see him and you turn the page, he's literally impaling Ban while he's like laying on Chastaful, and there's like blood shooting out of Ban's mouth, and he was just like a completely different personality than what you get to end up knowing him for, like once you get his, after his initial characterization, you start getting his development and you start finding out, what kind of player he was on the team. And I remember just being like so blown away by how versatile Chastaful was as a weapon with the different forms and whatnot. I remember it started out as a spear, and then the first form you got after that.
It's got the swarm of daggers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's called
to
Bumblebee.
Nah.
I think that form was called Bumblebee, maybe, or maybe that was just an attack name. But yeah, all the little knives and shit. They be shooting all the fucking, just hit you with a flurry of knives.
Hit you with
a of daggers, really.
Yeah, he had like a Tatsumaki type like whirlwind attack, like where he just like enveloped you in Chastaful daggers and shit. And then Sunflower, like comes out and fucking aims down at you and hits you with a solar beam.
Yeah. It was called Bumblebee.
It is called Bumblebee. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like they had kind of that whimsical stuff, like focusing on like plants and animals because of like his like Fae origins.
Yeah, straight up.
Oh man, that's a really good one. I love really the shape-shifting items, like that kind of like ball and cup weapon from like Mar, that really old manga.
Ball in a cup.
The ball in the cup.
It's a ball on a string and attached to the cup.
Nose.
Yeah.
And he could like change it to all kinds of shit. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that as a kid. And I'm like, wow, that was the dumbest out of memories.
I just remember that episode of Family Guy where they have like the ball in the cup commercial. And it's like, it's a ball on a string that's attached to the cup. But don't worry if the ball falls out of the cup, because it's on a string that's attached to the cup. Family Guy humor. Yeah, that's a good one, man. You got anything else that you wanted to say about Chastaful? Like any like favorite moments?
I think the Form 5 that we're talking about is called Increase. It's not the Swarm of the Daggers.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. And then especially like later on in the series when you see him upgraded to the true form of
Chastaful. I think that's like really close to where I stopped, because we're in the 10 Commandments arc. And then everyone has their own individual kind of like fights with the 10 Commandments, obviously. And then King's fight is against, his brother, his like elf or fairy brother, or someone that he came up with. And it was like this crazy twist reveal that, that one of the 10 Commandments ended up being his, fairy brethren. I can't remember exactly what their relationship was, but I remember thinking that was such a good matchup, and that's when
it was what was the dude's name? Yeah, it was his best friend.
Yeah, his best friend. There you go.
Yeah,
his
and
name,
then
though.
that demon was paired up with like the old King of Giants or something like
Yeah,
that.
Dolor.
And they had the
Yeah.
dance, and I
Oh,
was just like,
you're
yeah.
talking about Gloxinia and Dolor. That was like the past kings. He's talking about
Oh.
King's best friend in the past that like
Yeah, I don't.
murdered a
Yeah.
whole place, like a whole village of humans or a city of humans, and
Mhm.
they like were their cursed spirits were,
Yeah. Yep.
it
It's
was
been
a
a long
wild time.
time for Seven
It's been
Deadly
a long
Sins.
time, man. It's been a long time, but yeah, Castiel, man, and also the tightest thing probably about when he gets into the true form is that he gets a sixth form called Yggdracloth.
Yggdracloth.
You know what I'm saying, where he gets the Castiel wraps itself around him and he gets the armor.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's like based off Yggdrasil, so it's like life energy
Yeah.
cloak or something
Yeah.
like that. That's cool.
I don't know if I actually saw that in the manga, but I think I definitely saw that like on the timeline or somewhere in a group chat maybe a long time ago, like when it was happening. But
Helbram.
Helbram, that was
Helbram.
yes, yeah, that's right.
Good
Because
shit, Simon.
Helbram was like a big knight-looking dude, and he had like a beard and shit, and then he had that helmet or whatever, and then he
Yep.
transformed into his fairy form, and then you got all that information, and that was really cool. Yeah, I love that. Chastifol's a great pick. Mello, what do you got?
Yes.
All right. One of my favorites was from Battle Angel Alita, the OVA. It was the Rocket Hammer, run by that guy, that like cyber physician that had like the trench coat and like the hat. He had like a little long nose and glasses, and he had like, it was a super simple weapon. It was just
Like
a
her dad,
sledgehammer.
basically, the one
Yeah,
who
it was
found her, like
the
in
guy
the
who
rubble.
adopted her.
Yeah, the one who
Yeah.
adopted her. Yeah.
Mhm. That was one of my favorite weapons. I remember seeing that as a kid, where he just like swung the thing, missed, swung. It's like swung the thing, missed. The guy's like ha 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 ha, and then he just like flips it around and then presses the
The
button, and it
button
just
on it, and then you get
and
like
then
a
a rocket
jetpack.
just punches through
Yeah,
that guy's head. I was like, ah!
yes, that's always
It
so
was such a
cool.
cool.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
whenever weapons have like a man, how am I gonna
Trick.
say it? It's like an almost automotive like aspect to it, where like you could literally just have a piston, or not a piston, but like a rocket, or just like
Yeah.
fuel shooting out of it to like help with the momentum. I'm trying to think of other things that we've seen that in. I think we've saw something similar in Jujutsu Kaisen with Maki's
Yes.
curse tool gun.
Dragon Bone.
Yeah, Dragon Bone. Yeah. When she was fighting Ogi in the Zenin massacre arc. And then and then I feel like there's another one too that's like right on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, keep going with your Battle Angel Alita pick.
But yeah, that was it. Daisuke Ito built an item that was like, because he was just like a bludgeoner, right? Like he was just a simple guy. He's like, I'm not that good at fighting, but like, this is a hard place, and this is what I need to defend myself. And I just loved that he was able to like, as a full human of Tefares, like unadulterated, non-augmented, just regular human,
Yeah.
he used his knowledge and gave himself a weapon that put him on par with cyborgs that were like built and prepared to kill all the time. And he's just like, yeah, I don't need to worry about your Mad Max bullshit. I have the element of surprise, and it doesn't matter what kind of armor you're packing, this is big and it's gonna punch through you. Like it had like a nice little like a fence. It was basically like a pointed fence post on a stick, and he could collapse it and like stick it in like a suitcase. And so he was doing that like he looked like that guy that you see on like neighborhood watch signs. Like, watch out for this sketchy guy. And I was like, it's him. Battle Angel Alita. Every time I was walking through like a suburban area.
I remember being I remember that was like when I started thinking that the series was like, because I was introduced to Battle Angel Alita through the OVA, right? So I like watched that little anime thing for it, and I remember you get that guy who I can't remember his fucking name, but he adopts Alita, and you look at him as like a scientist, you know what I mean? And he's like, or a scavenger, you know, like engineer
Hmm.
type dude. And then he brings Alita in, and he's like a father figure to her, and he tries to raise her normally. And then like one of the first twists in the series is that he's a hunter warrior. You know what I mean? He's a part of that like job class, and that's always cool to me when you have an older character that you don't think is really all that capable combat wise, that you find out is just like a Van Helsing. He's basically like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
love
like
that.
yeah, like that's always a cool little twist. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
that
having
was
a
like
giant fucking weapon like that is just adding to the subversion. Yeah.
it was so good. I love that series. I love that series so much. Like the Panzerkunst, like sci-fi martial arts and all that stuff. So like that, finding that early on in my like life was
Yeah.
just like it really kind of set me on my whole sci-fi kick for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good one to do too. Have you read Last Order?
Maybe.
Yeah,
To be
that's
honest, I've
yeah.
read a lot of shit. I'm
Right.
like, I don't know the names anymore. I just
Yeah.
write
It's
read
like the
things.
second Battle Angel Alita manga. So like you have like the original like run of however long that was, and then Last Order is like after that, and it's like newer art and like looks like really good. I haven't read it,
It's
but
really I think I have.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the really polished stuff where things start getting like super weird.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I
Yeah,
heard.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hell yeah,
Some JoJo stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Did you have anything else for Battle Angel Alita?
I think that's it. It was a really simple item,
Yeah,
but it was to me, I would say that's like an iconic weapon.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I would have to agree with you on that front. But yeah. So what is me?
Yep.
I want to talk about Akame from Akame Got Kill, right? Because like, okay, so inside of Akame Got Kill, I thought that the power system being the weapons themselves was always like really cool, because usually you have like a ki or a chi or a nen or some kind of like inner energy that fuels your superpowers. But in Akame Got Kill, it's literally just the weapons that they wield. And Tegu as like a concept really spoke to me, just because it's like, man, if you like considering like that it's fiction and that we'll never have superpowers or whatever, in the sense that, you know, like we enjoy, you know, today as regular people in the current time, like thinking
Hmm.
about a weapon that's just augmented or maybe has a magical property, or, you know, some kind of scientific advancement that makes it feel magical just because of how advanced it is or something like that, isn't as far outside of the realm of possibility as like waking up with Nen one day. So like when I'm reading about Akame Got Kill and having the entire, you know, kind of vibe fit in with, you know, other shonen and seinen storytelling, but being, you know, derived directly from the weapons, was always really cool to me. And Akame's weapon, Murasame, is a sword, which automatically, like, you got me, you know what I mean? Like, swordsmen just like are my favorite. But like it was the first Tegu that I feel like we kind of really saw in action in Akame Got Kill. And it's so tight because it's just like the one shot, the one hit kill, the Hisatsu, you know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
get nicked, it's like a deadly poisonous curse that just infects you at the point of entry, or at the wound point, and then just spreads and then stops your heart or whatever. And I always thought that that was so cool, because there was a scene in the manga and in the anime too, I'm pretty sure, where they're at the night raid hideout, and she's like cleaning the sword and sharpening it, and there's a whole conversation that Akame has with Tatsumi and I think Mai, where she's talking about how it's really dangerous to clean the sword even though she's the wielder, because this shit will kill anybody that it cuts, even the person who's brandishing it. And she has to wear like
Yeah.
special gloves, and she has to like, you know, approach it with tools to make sure that her hands don't get too close to the weapon. And I just remember being like, man, I'm not used to such a volatile, you know, weapon in the hands of like a main character like that, to where it's like the margin of error is that small, you know what I mean? And she's just so cold-blooded with it too. And a lot of the time she's just like hacking limbs off and just like beheading you in one shot anyway, so the curse doesn't really need to even be a thing. The
Yeah.
poisonous like curse like doesn't even like need to be a thing, because she's literally just doing like life-ending attacks, like, you know, in general. But I remember when she was fighting Esdeath, is her name, right? Yeah, it's like the final
Esdeath,
villain.
yeah.
Yeah, she's fighting Esdeath, and she nicks her with the shit, and I was like, oh my god, it's over. And then Esdeath like stops time so that the curse poison doesn't spread, and then she's like, how do I win this after time is done being frozen? I can't do anything. I have to just lop my fucking like arm off. and she fucking like cuts her own arm off to prevent the spreading of the poison. And I just remember being like, that's so fucking sick. Did you?
Ezda?
Yeah,
So cool.
Yeah.
The blue-haired Dami Mami one, right?
Yep. The one who's like obsessed with
cool.
Tatsumi, and she's like the leader of the of whatever the empire.
The interrogators. They're just like, hey, we're the Imperial. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, dude. That Akame's tight. And then if you ever read like Akame Got Kill Zero, which is like the prequel series for it, it tells the story of like Akame's time working for the Empire. I didn't really get too far into it. I remember being like really into it when it first came out, because we had just finished Akame Got. Actually, it started before the original run of Akame Got Kill even ended in the manga. And I just remember being like, oh shit, prequel series spinoff, let's go. And seeing Akame in the Empire before she joined Night Raid, they actually gave her like government issue weapons. And I'm trying to remember because it's been so long, but I know that the lore in Akame Got Kill is that like the very first emperor of their world created the Tegu out of like Danger Beast essence and like other special, you know, materials or whatever at the time, and that's what forged the original Tegu. And then in Akame Got Kill Zero, like the lore was that a much later emperor tried to recreate the Tegu and failed, and that's what created the subclass of Tegu called Shingu, which is the kind of weapon that everyone was using in Akame Got Kill Zero. And Akame had a Shingu called Kirimonji. Kirimonji or Kirichimonji. I think is what it is. I'm not gonna look it up, but Kirichimonji, and that was like her like Tegu Junior, and it had like really similar. It had a really similar ability to Murasame, because if how the way that Murasame works, like I was saying, is that if it cuts you, the poison, curse, whatever. But Kirichimonji says that if it cuts you or if it deals damage to you, you'll never heal that wound. So it was like really close to Murasame anyway, while still being like wildly different. You could tell it was like a junior version of Murasame, which was like always really cool to me. But yeah, man, I had to shout out the Imperial Arms, the Tegu. Hell yeah! Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look and see what some people have been saying in the chat here.
Some Soul Eater stuff, which makes sense. Fire and Thunder, the pots that were used by Kilik Rung.
Oh yeah.
Those were really cool. That was actually on like one of my like honorable mention ones, because I'm just a sucker for like fist fighting type stuff. Like I love the pugilists. I love the weaponized gauntlets. If you've followed our like Patreon special grade stuff, you know, in Kaiju number 8, there's some pretty tight stuff relating to that. But that doesn't have an anime adaptation. I don't want to spoil too much without prefacing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But Kilik was hard.
Yeah, that's super tight.
Mellow the Human talking about Power Pole.
Oh, from Dragon Ball? Yes! Oh my god, I'm pretty sure that's actually on my list. So yeah, fuck it, let's talk about that. Because like, okay, the Power Pole in Dragon Ball, I want to say, is the most iconic artifact or weapon that a main character has like ever wielded. You have like, well, maybe not the most, but like when it comes to mind, like weapons that main characters have had, you think of like Dragon Slayer and Guts, and then you think of like the Power Pole in like the same echelon of iconic. You know what I mean?
I would say it's
yeah. What makes the Power Pole so cool? Obviously, we know what it does. It can get bigger. It can get smaller, but it's obviously based off of Ruyi Jingu Bang, the Power Pole from the original Journey to the West Sun Wukong lore, which is just always tight. Whenever it's in anything, God of High School, fucking Undead Unluck, the last Sayuki R.I.P. That was like the entire power system was fucking power poles in the last Sayuki. That shit shouldn't have fucking got axed, man. I'll say it every single time we bring it up.
No, I love the Monkey King. It was a story that I was very much raised on. So like anytime I see that, I'm just like, yes, excellent. I think the original Monkey King one, basically he visited like the river dragon or the dragon of the sea.
Ao Kuang, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I think that's what it
visits
is.
like the Lord of the Waters.
Well, there's more
And
than just Ao Kwang. He's the one
there's a
in the
lot of
East,
them.
I think.
I think he's the one. Well, yeah, I think that's
He's the head honcho.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
he's the
Um,
head.
definitely more than one dragon than Ao Kwang, but I think specifically the one
mhm.
that Mello was referencing might have been Ao Kwang if it's like about
Yeah,
storms
Yeah.
and rivers and shit. Yeah.
because he straight up like goes there, and then if you don't talk shit to Goku, Son Goku, Wukong, or whatever, you never talk shit to them because he'll steal a pillar from your house, like a
Yeah.
foundational pillar, and that's the original power pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, just walks
was-
away with like part of your house, and you're just like,
That was Ao Kwang's pillar that he took.
Yeah, straight up. Dude, have you guys seen anything for the independent video game Black Myth Wukong? Have you guys seen anything for
No.
that yet? Okay, so
I
like
haven't.
oh my god, okay, so I'm gonna link that to you, but it's basically just like a Sun Wukong video game using like the Unreal like 4 or 5 engine, so it looks like super hyper realistic for for that kind of game, and it just looks fucking beautiful. But the mechanics in the game and like just like the combat system that we're seeing like while we're following the game is just looks so promising because the power pole mechanics just look so sick. I saw this video where Sun Wukong is fighting this giant like lightning dragon, and the dragon goes through its like first wave of attacks where it's just like claw strikes, and then like there's like a lightning beam that it shoots out of its mouth like every so often or whatever. But then like later on in the fight, the dragon goes into the air outside of your like ability to hit him basically, and readies up this giant lightning storm. And then the one who's playing Sun Wukong in the game uses the power pole to like extend and like raise him like 100 feet 200 feet in the air, and he's just like sitting on top of the pole dodging the fucking lightning strikes on the ground because he's like grounded from the pole, right? I'm pretty sure is why it was happening like that. Yeah. Dude, Mello's like, yo, I need to see this shit. It's like, okay, so yeah,
I'm imagining he's just like creating, like he widens it so he has a platform to stand on, and it just shoots up to him. It's like, but like from a game perspective, that's so cool.
It's so cool. Like honestly, like I remember, I don't like it doesn't explain to you like why he's sitting on top of the pole during the lightning storm, and I just like kind of just filled in that gap with my mind. Like, it'd be cool if you can't be zapped by lightning on the ground if you're high up on the pole because of whatever the scientific like physics logic is for it,
grounding,
being grounded, you know what I mean? And I like thought about that as like if that's a thing in the game, that's really fucking cool, and not only is that really tight, but also the fight that I was watching against this dragon is like the best dragon combat I've ever seen in a video game. The dragon reacts to every hit that's taken by Sun Wukong, you know what I mean? Yeah, like you can hit it in the face, you can hit it in the fucking like side, like wherever you hit there's like an impact and like a physical reaction to it that feels natural, you know what I mean? So it's just a very impressive game, it looks like, that we have on our hands, but it is independent, you know what I mean? It's not any major studio or anything, so like you have to deal with that, but it looks like it's going to be the best game that I've ever seen, so I'm really excited for that. But yeah, Power Pole was a great addition.
Well, looking at the trailer now, like I don't know, the cinematic trailers always worry me.
Does it? Why?
Just because
you never know if it's actually going to look that good. Watch the
A
game.
lot of gaming companies will throw a really good looking cinematic trailer out, and then they'll throw a dog shit product out. Actually.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, 2077. Yeah, they blew it on that too. And like
man.
No Man's Sky and shit too was like another one that like had people really like hype off of the trailer just for the launch to be like, this isn't finished. What's going on here? But no, Black Myth Wukong looks really good.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer right now. It does.
Yeah, but no, if you look at the gameplay, like
holy shit, this shit's 12 minutes long. Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you watch the gameplay videos, like it looks just as good.
This is a gameplay trailer.
Yeah. No, the gameplay looks incredible. So I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, but no, Power Pole was a great comment. But yeah, should we get back to the list? Should we get back to our own lists? Eagle, what do you got next?
Me?
Yeah.
I had Wado Ichimonji.
Ooh.
Yeah. This
Okay.
is definitely my favorite one of Zoro's swords.
Yeah.
You know, despite him having gotten, you know, Yubashiri,
Sandai Katetsu,
Sandai Katetsu,
Shusui, and now Enma.
Shusui, Enma, yeah.
Yeah.
Despite him having gotten all those swords, I mean, I would say Shusui, due to the aesthetics, is a close second. But Wado just hits different, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
Kuina's blade, what he
Yes.
went through to get it, the meaning of it.
Yeah.
You know, the way the meaning of it is like juxtaposed with that. Like the Wado Ichimonji means straight line through the path of harmony, which definitely I feel like rings pretty close to home with like the lessons that Kyoshiro or was it Kyoshiro?
Koshiro.
Koshiro, the lessons that, you know, Koshiro taught Zoro that he thought back to
Yeah.
During his fight with like Mr. One and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just like the clean white, you know, what kind of pattern does it have on like I forget, you know, whatever the patterns are called, you know.
Like the Damascus groove?
Yeah.
Like the blacksmithing, like
on the edge of the blade, there's like specific
The tempering.
patterns. The tempering, yeah, but it's just got that like straight line tempering that just looks super clean.
Yes.
You know, an incredible blade, man, and it's the one that he always puts in his mouth.
The one that he always puts in his mouth, and it was the one that he always like used to do his EI, his one sword style EI attacks with, like Shishi Sansan and shit. But then
that would probably be Enma now.
Yeah, I thought about it like for the entire time, like this is the one that he does Shishi Sansan with, and then I'm remembering in we had a conversation about it even in Fishman Island when he's fighting Hody Jones underwater. And he catches him lacking with the Shishi Sansan underwater. He uses Sandai Katetsu for that one. And now I'm like, yeah. And I remember being like, what? And now it like made me want to go back and like look at, you know, the history of the series to see any time he hasn't used Wado for that attack.
Yeah, that's super weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not a whole lot we can talk about as far as, you know, Wado Ichimonji goes.
I mean,
like,
my favorite thing about Wado is
more
like
behind it.
Yeah, like
go ahead.
When he's fighting fucking Mihawk, like on the in the Baratier arc,
it doesn't shatter,
and it doesn't shatter, but the other two do. I remember
the other two were like fucko swords, but yeah.
No, because we found out recently that those were swords from what's his name or whatever. So, but they were
Kozaburo. He told them like these are bullshit swords. They're gonna break.
Yeah, that's right. You're totally right. You know? Yeah, no, you're totally right. And then at the end of the day, they were Foko swords because those were the ones that got broken. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah.
But I remember when Wado didn't break. That was the first time that like One Piece had shown me like there's something more to like these swords. You know what I mean? Like obviously, you know, you could just say that one was the strongest and that's why it survived. But then we go into all of the Meito storytelling in like Logetown and shit, and we find out, you know, about the hierarchy of sword quality. You know what I mean? And like and then when you think back to, and then they classified Wado Ichimonji, I think shortly after that or during that arc, and it was
as
like
one of the 21 great swords.
Yeah, it's like the Saijo Wazemono, I think, is like the second to highest like tier, right? And I'm pretty sure Wado is in the second to highest tier, right? Or maybe
no, I think it's Wazemono. The Saijo Wazemonos are the 12 great.
I thought that was Owazemono. I need to go back and get my, because I know Owazemono is one of them, and then you have Saijo, and then you just have Wazemono. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But
yeah,
I just remember being like, holy shit, okay. So once we started getting all of that information, I like thought back to the Baratier, and I was like, oh, okay, his sword didn't break like the other two because it's inside of this classification of higher qualities of sword. And that was just like one of the coolest world building aspects to me in early One Piece was the Meito system. But
yeah,
for sure.
It is the... Why doesn't it say? Okay, so the supreme grade swords are the Saijo Owazemono. Okay. The great grades are the Owazemono. And then the skillful grades are the Ryo Wazemono.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so you were right. You were absolutely right.
So yeah.
Fuck yeah. Trying to think of
I just this makes me think of the the tweet from JD Legend that I saw recently. Like,
What did he say?
if we're gonna take power scaling in One Piece seriously, then this panel needs to be canon. And it was like a screenshot of the panel of the first time we saw this concept introduced, like the 21, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like Crocodile's hook is photoshopped into the fucking panel.
Dude, Jay.
I was fucking dead. I don't even know if like that, but like, yeah, Crocodile's hook was in that bitch, and I was done for.
Jay's hilarious.
Oh
so
man.
Funny. Yeah, shout out Wado Ichimonji. I'm trying to think of like more, because I feel like there have been like specific Wado moments that the storytelling is kind of like focused on, and I'm just like drawing like so many blanks right now, and this is usually where I'm like, yeah, the bag's open, let's pull out everything. I'm just like, man, like besides the Baratier shit with like Mihawk, I'm just like drawing a blank on Wado moments. Obviously you have like Tashigi and the Kuina parallels, and I remember that when she first ran into to Zoro while he was like Mr. Bushido or whatever, before she knew that he was the pirate hunter, they ran into each other or something and like dropped all their shit, and then she's like, oh my god, you have all of these amazing swords, and she like comments on Wado specifically, and that was when I think that was like when the conversations like started inside of our group chat, because we were talking about the possibility that Kuina and Tashigi were like the same person and how that could make sense and whatnot, and it's like, man, it's like we have all of these little breadcrumb like foreshadowings like setting that up potentially inside of her being drawn more to Wado Ichimonji in their first meeting. I'm just like, man, if that's a thing, we're gonna have all of this shit to look back at and go, yep, that was build up, that was that would just be really cool.
I love all
now
the
looking at this list of supreme grade swords, somehow at some point it was confirmed Roger's sword was named Ace and was a supreme grade sword.
Wait, what? When did you
get
that in like an SBS or something?
Maybe this is false information on this One Piece wiki, but the rest of them are accurate. So
I just typed Roger's sword into Google and it just says Ace, big bold letters like right away. Ace is a cutlass that was owned and wielded by the Pirate King Goldie Roger, serving as his trademark weapon. It ranks as one of the 12. Wow.
That is awesome, because it almost feels like his son was his weapon against the next generation.
Oh!
Yo! What the fuck, bro?
What
the fuck are we talking about, yo? Oda?
That's like some deep like double entendre shit. I fucking love that.
Oh, dude.
My favorite.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bello.
My favorite sword out of One Piece.
Yeah.
Is that one little cross blade that like Mihawk had in his necklace, and he's like, to hunt a jackrabbit, this shall be enough. And I'm like,
I remember that. I remember that bar was so drastic because it was like he has the giant, black blade on his back. And then Zoro's like, all right, let's do this. You're the number one swordsman. I've been waiting my whole life for this. Square up, motherfucker. And he's like, all right, bet. Pulls out the crossblade. And Zoro's like,
fucking necklace.
Yeah, off his necklace. And Zoro's like, you think this is a fucking joke, bro? Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck do you mean? Take this seriously. And he's like, a hunter doesn't go all out to hunt a fucking rabbit. And I was like,
it killed me.
He's like, nah, I'm gonna get you with this little that.
Yeah.
He did.
He just flexes on his shit. I remember that one moment where he like tries to hit him with all three blades at once. He like tries to go into an onigiri or some shit, and then the fucking knife blocks all of them and stops him in his tracks. And to the point where not only do the blades stop, but Zoro also can't move his body at all for some reason after he comes in contact with it. Is that like a hockey thing?
I think it was like the first like soft introduction of hockey, right? Like because he stabs it right at like the pivotal point where all three blades were supposed to connect, and he just stabs it right there and holds him in place. Like he's like, you're not going any further. You can't push me back. Like
I mean, it could have been hockey. No, because I remember literally he stabbed him and he was like, oh, if the blade goes in another like quarter of an inch or something like that,
Yeah.
it'll pierce your heart and you'll die.
Yep.
Why don't you run away?
Yeah.
And Zoro said a badass quote about like, oh,
if I
swordsmen
take a
don't run
step
away.
back, it'll mean I'm retreating.
No, he was like, scar on the back is a swordsman's shame, or what? No, that was after.
No, that was at the
when he
very
took the slash
end.
across the
Yeah,
chest,
when he stabs him in the chest with the knife and says, if you come any closer, it's going to stab your heart and you're going to die. Why don't you back up and run away? And so that, the knife will leave your body. And Zoro was like, if I jump back or if I take a step back, it's like basically the same thing as like, conceding
admitting
or something.
defeat.
Yeah, admitting defeat or something like that. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. And so he's like, all right, well then you'll die right here. And he pulls the knife out and he's like, I guess you've warranted use of my big boy right here. And he like pulls out the black blade and then yeah. And then I think that's when Zoro says, all right, well here's my fucking, Sanzen Sekai or whatever his fucking ultimate attack was that he tried to use at the end, and then he gets his blades broken, and then after he gets his blades broken, that's when he's like, all right, bet, and he like turns around and faces him, and Mihawk's like, what are you doing? And he's like, scars on the back or his swordsman's shame or whatever, and he's like, all right, bet, rah! And then fucking slices his shit.
I can respect
he's
this.
Like, I fuck with that. Yeah, he's like that was a bar. He's like, I'm gonna give you that.
Talk.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Knox, what was next on your list?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh man, we gotta visit my man Vash the Stampede with the angel arm. You know what I'm saying? I love fucking Trigun, and I knew that when I was designing the thumbnail for this tie-in episode that Vash was going right there on the middle. You know what I mean? Like he was the first character that I thought of when I was like, yo, we should do best weapons, and yeah, so Vash is cool because one, it's just like a nostalgic pick that I always remember whenever I'm thinking about anime that like kind of like, started my journey into this fandom and into this craft and everything like that. And I just remember when I was young watching Trigun and just seeing this like, dystopian sci-fi western. You know what I mean? Like for the first time, I had never experienced anything like that before, and I thought I had it like all figured out. You know what I mean? Like he pulls up, they rootin' tootin' 6 shooters. Everybody is, doing the, everyone's doing the Western
clothes.
Yeah, like dead men don't wear plaid, like type shit. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, the first time you see the fucking angel arm activate. And it's like this super elaborate giant arm cannon with angel wings and shit coming out of it. I remember being like, this is the tightest shit I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I don't have too many times in my life where I can say that like my hype levels almost overloaded me to the point of like, I don't want to say comatose, but like I just remember just being stuck like, that was cool nuts. Shit. Yeah,
it's like, as a kid, just like, this is blowing my mind and blowing through holes in houses.
Right, and finding out the lore for everything inside of Trigun when you get the flashback arc.
It's a trip
on that freighter with Rem and Knives, and you see their life as they grow up, and then you find out that Knives made both of their trademark pistols, and that's why they have the angel arm element and how plants are used in everything and how they're plants and shit like that. Once you get all of that lore, it just makes all of the fucking action thereafter just slap so much harder, obviously, just because more now. You know what I mean? You appreciate it more and all of that shit. And like when Trigun starts and you find out that these guys are calling this motherfucker the humanoid typhoon, and he's just such a goofy, jovial personality. That's also a great subversion that I like inside of storytelling, where you have like just a dumb, goofy character that has the most badass past. Yeah, like tripping over himself, fucking spilling on himself, just being an idiot like clown, and then they just have the most badass backstory and come up like ever, you know what I mean? Or at least dark or deeper than you thought it was. Like that shit always slaps super
I love
hard.
subversions like that, where it's just like, because like I always feel like the people, because like it makes sense to me in a way, because like a lot of the characters that are like, I'm the toughest, and it's like, yeah, that's bravado. Whereas the character's like, yeah, I'm tough, I don't have anything to prove. Like, I'm just gonna be me, and then I'm gonna beat you.
Right. Malik E, will this full episode be on Patreon? I need to watch this from the beginning when I have time. It's going to stay right here on YouTube. It doesn't, we're just live, and then once it ends, it'll stay as a VOD on YouTube to be watched whenever you want. Yeah. But the tie-ins were originally something that, like, we had we would always do offline recordings for them. You know what I mean? And then once the Patreon came out, we added them to, you know, early access. Basically, you could watch it, you know, 3 days before it hit YouTube. But now that they're live, it's just, you know, what you see is what you get here. You know what I mean? It's just gonna stay right here for you. But yeah, man, I don't know. Fuck, man. Did you have? Okay, so we've all seen Trigun here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last fight with like Vash versus like Knives, which is just like such a fucking iconic fight in and of itself. But I remember it came down to them both using their angel arms against each other, and like I think what it was is that like them both being fired simultaneously kind of like cancels each other out, and it doesn't cause like a giant, you know, scale of destruction or whatever, the way that it did in what was the name of that city that Vash fucking evaporated? Fuck. Hold on 1 second. That's gonna drive me nuts. What's the city that Vash destroyed? That got him the name of the humanoid typhoon. Hold on. Trigun City. Yeah, because there's 7 cities. The 3rd city is the one he blows up. July. It was called July. Okay, sorry. That has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. But I just couldn't remember the name. But anyway, yeah. So they try to use the angel arms, and then the angel arms cancel each other out. So they go back to fighting regularly with regular pistols and whatnot. And then something happens to where Vash like shoots out, Knives shoots out Vash's primary Colt pistol. And so he doesn't have access to the angel arm anymore. And he's got him dead to rights with his angel arm just like beaming in Vash's face like he's about to get him and about to end the conflict. And then Vash has that like augmented like left arm that turns into like a fucking submachine gun. And like Knives didn't know that he had that. And he like pulled that out real quick and shot him in the angel arm. And then Knives' arm like flies up and he lets out like the funniest, you know, yell like ever. It reminded me of like in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies when fucking Green Goblin does that like front flip punch or whatever. It was like a meme on Twitter like recently, and fucking Tobey Maguire's just like, oh! And he like just makes the funniest fucking like noise as he gets punched.
The wackiest Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, and I just like remember that in the fucking like English dub of Trigun when Knives is going to finish him, and he like shoots him with the hidden submachine gun arm pistol. His fucking angel arm goes flying, and he's just like, oh!
Opening.
But yeah, that's my second pick. The angel arm.
What's your second pick?
Yeah, Mello, what do you got?
My second pick is Playful Cloud from Jujutsu. Okay, so this is gonna delve a little bit into like the anime adaptation specifically, and then it's gonna dip into a little bit of spoilers. I'm just letting you guys know now.
Yep.
Because not all it's animated.
Kaisen, spoilers are ahead. Ooh.
And I'll focus on the first part. Like I love the 3-section staff. It's something that I've always enjoyed, probably because of my love of Wukong. And like I like that it's the only cursed tool in the series that doesn't have a cursed technique baked into it. It literally just burns its cursed energy to enhance the physical strength and amplify, like multiply the strength of the user. So like having them be used by like Todo or Maki was really cool. Even Megumi, who is like at the time wasn't a scrapper against Hanami, was able to like, injure the branch eyeball things. That was like a good spot. I really enjoyed that. And now entering spoiler section for non-animated parts in the Shibuya arc. Koji Fushiguro.
Yeah, for real. That's all you gotta say.
The zombie Toji Fushiguro.
Yeah.
Fighting Dagon, destroying him. He rips it out of his hands, and he's just like walls of fish. Just like no. Destroys them with rapid speed, and like I loved the really cool part where he like grinds the tips down with each other. Like he grips Playful Cloud together so that it sharpens the two ends,
Yeah.
and he uses it as like a spear. And like I thought it was interesting because like the name is Playful Cloud. So does that mean that that's a hidden property of the staff, where like it could be turned into a blade, like sharpened into a blade, or a spike, or a bludgeoning weapon? And that's really
that's where like you think that's where playful comes
shapes
from, and or
yeah,
like
where the cloud takes different
the
shapes,
cloud. Okay, okay.
right? And so you can play around with like the 3 classic types of damage: piercing, slashing, bludgeoning, and then it's part of like a really iconic scene. Once again, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, "Hey, kid, what's your name?" Megumi Fushiguro. Cool.
Yeah. Nah, dude.
Trick.
Yeah, for real. No, that shit was fucking epic, man.
He
I don't know.
stabs the fuck out of Dagon shit too, bro.
Dude,
Like,
he pops that fish.
I think what makes it so cool in the in the story when it's going into like the explanation of Playful Cloud and how it kind of works the way that Mello explained it, I think the fact that we kind of we saw the tool in use throughout like pretty much the entire series, even going back into the prequel series in Tokyo Metropolitan Magic Technical School, that's Geto or Suguru is brandishing that, you know what I mean? So we've seen it all the way, since the very, very, very beginning of the series, and we only get the explanation of exactly what it does and how it operates in the Shibuya Incident arc. So we have all of this time to spend with it and and love it as a cursed tool before we even know what it does. Then when we find out what it does, you go back and think about how like major that is for the characters that were using it, because Maki is just like this strength powerhouse because of her, her
limited curse. Heavenly restriction.
Heavenly restriction. I'm like so like brain dead. I can barely talk and I can't remember anything that I want to fucking remember today. But like her heavenly restriction makes her wildly, powerful, like really strong. And so when you know that Playful Cloud scales, with the wielder's strength, and basically like the stronger you are, the harder Playful Cloud is going to hit. You know what I mean? So then when you retroactively go back and go, okay, Todo had it, that's major. Maki had it, that's even more major because of Heavenly Restriction. And then when you see fucking Toji pull up and yank that shit out of Maki's hands and he literally like lifts her like off of her feet, I want to say I remember when he like takes the Playful Cloud from her like instantly, and she makes a comment on it. She's like, I lost in like physical strength to somebody, like that's never fucking happened before. And then knowing how the Playful Cloud works, you're just like already just imagining like the sheer destruction that Toji is going to let out with his fully realized heavenly restriction that that we know that Maki just recently got. So I'm trying to wonder if Playful Cloud is still a thing since it's been like sharpened. Like what happened to it after that? Did Maki just take it back and put it back in her arsenal, or like who has it? Like where is it? Because it wasn't destroyed. It was altered. Maki couldn't have it because Toji still had it after they came out of Dagon's domain. And then he was fighting Megumi with it while Maki was getting burnt to a crisp by fucking Jogo. So I don't think Maki reclaimed it. So then Megumi did, because Megumi's the one that can keep it in his shadows, and he was fighting against Toji, and then Toji kills himself, and then fucking and then he probably just recollects it and puts it back in his shadow bag.
This is Maki's. I'm gonna go grab it, and I don't know who that guy was. I'm just gonna leave.
Oh my god! So the next time we see Playful Cloud, whoever is wielding it is going to have the sharpened version.
I want to see if it is still sharp.
Oh, you think
because if it does have that like slight like slashing, piercing, bludgeoning malleability to it, like if that is, then I'm just like, you heard it here first, folks.
Nice.
I want to see it.
Yeah, that's real good. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Yeah, that's a good one. What else we got in the chat? Has anybody said anything else that's really cool? I kind of like Nicholas D. Wolfwood's gun, the Punisher. I didn't know that was what it was called, but yes, the fucking cross gun that holds like all the other guns in it and shit. That was always a fucking banger inside of Trigun. Honestly, yeah. You want to know what, Wolfwood? That's a really good point. I think that like aesthetically and just like you know, obviously the angel arm is the strongest thing, you know what I mean? And it's like the main, you know, like weapon inside of Trigun, and it's like, you know, a lot of the lore is like based around it and whatnot. But just like from a badass like perspective, the fucking cross gun, like not knowing that it was a gun and just like seeing the cross like wrapped up with like, you know, whatever towel or blanket or whatever the fuck it's wrapped around, you know what I mean? Like I just wasn't expecting it to be what it was. Finally takes the cloth off of it and shows you what it actually does. Like, yeah, that was like a major moment too in there.
It was
even be
wild.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference of like impactful versus iconic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where like the angel arm is like super impactful, but like when everyone thinks of like Vashta Stampede, you're like, oh yeah, that one guy with the giant cross gun.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not even the main character.
Yeah. Like, but I remember it before I remember a lot of things in Trigun.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one, Wolfwood, and that makes sense for me.
Says Tetsaiga.
Tetsaiga.
Oh yeah, that's a Toonami classic.
That's an iconic one, yeah.
Yeah, no, Tetsaiga's real good. I remember, I remember the Goshinki episode where that giant purple demon that could read your mind and was like lightning fast. I remember that was like one of the scariest antagonists in Inuyasha to me, like even more than Naraku. Like you always had Naraku like kind of like looming in the background, and then you got to the Goshinki episode and he actually breaks Tetsaiga in his fucking mouth, and then Inuyasha has to go to Toto's side to get it fixed, and he like uses like his own fang to like fill in the gaps of the broken pieces or whatever. I remember that was so fucking cool because up until that point Inuyasha had just like not really struggled all that much unless it was against Sesshomaru. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like seeing like a new enemy come out that was able to kind of like beat the shit out of Inuyasha and it wasn't Sesshomaru, you're like, okay, this shit getting a little crazy.
Cool, we got stakes now.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
It's not bees and it's not Sesshomaru. Cool, let's go.
Yeah, because until then it's just like, man, like any conflict that kind of like happened in the series, I just like wasn't worried about it unless Sesshomaru was the cause of it. You know what I mean? And then that Goshinki shit out of it. It felt like a horror movie to me. I just remember being like blankets up here, like,
oh no.
Yeah, dude, that's a good one.
I hope we don't die.
Yeah, Tetsaiga is real good. And then you have Tenseiga too, which was always like a really cool aspect of Inuyasha to me, is that like their parents gave the weaker child the stronger sword, the one for like conquest, the one for actually killing and defeating people, gave it to Inuyasha. I think because it was said in the story that he knew that Sesshomaru wasn't like mature enough for Tetsaiga, or he was too, you know, obsessed with conquest or too obsessed with, you know, his hatred for humans or something like that. He's like, you're just gonna fucking destroy the entire planet if I give you Tetsaiga. So he gives him the sword that heals you, you know what I mean, instead of destroys you. And that was a major point in Sesshomaru's character arc, is that he was wondering like, what, like, yo, dad, like, what did I do to, like, why have you forsaken me? You know what I mean? Like, type shit. It's like, why did you give him Tetsaiga when I'm clearly the stronger, better brother? Like, you should have, why'd you give me Tenseiga? You know what I mean?
See, the way I always saw it is that he saw Sesshomaru and he's like, you got an anger in you that I recognize, and you'll probably self-destruct. So I'm going to give you the sword that'll keep you alive, because you're the one that's going to be looking for trouble and getting into trouble, and I want my son to live. And you're weak, so you need something that'll kick people's asses.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was a way for him to preserve the lives of both his sons, is the way I viewed it.
Yeah, no, that's probably what it is. Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that a lot. That was really well said. Sebastian, also, wasn't Tetsaiga so heavy that only Inuyasha can hold it? I want to say that I remember that. No, it wasn't so. That's what it was. Only a human.
It says, according to Totosai, Sesshomaru was given Tenseiga because it could protect him from Tetsaiga, while it could not be used to harm Inuyasha in order to teach them to get along.
Oh, there we go. So it was kind of along the lines of what Mello was saying. But going back to Sebastian's question, also, wasn't Tetsaiga so heavy that only Inuyasha can hold it? I don't think it was so heavy that only Inuyasha can hold it. I think there was a stipulation attached to Tetsaiga.
Into the big form, and it would never do that for Sesshomaru, I'm pretty sure.
Right, and the reason why is because a human hand has to hold it, or something, right? Or something like that. Like, didn't you need like a... Because I don't think Sesshomaru is half human. Inuyasha is the one that's half human. Sesshomaru is full demon. So I think that their father baked it into the sword Tetsaiga that like you have to have a human hand to wield this. And so I think that's why Sesshomaru was going around trying to find new arms. Or maybe a dragon arm. God, I think I'm totally wrong now that I'm thinking about it. Because he goes and fights a dragonoid kind of dude, or like an actual dragon, and then like slices its arm off, and then takes it. And then takes the arm so that he could wield a sword that needed a dragon arm to wield it or something like that. God, this is like...
Barrier was put on to Saiga to prevent a full yokai who hated humans from being able to use it.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's right. Okay. So then now I'm wondering why Sesshomaru got the dragon hand. Because he fully replaced one of his arms with like a dragon, humanoid dragon, scaly claw hand. Can't remember why he did that. Oh, it was to wield Tokijin. So he got that sword. Yeah, he got a new sword later after he was like, well, this Tenseiga shit is some bullshit. I can't fucking defeat my enemies with this shit because all it does is bring you back to life. I need an actually devastating sword. And then he goes to weapon. Yeah, he goes to that one smith who like forged a crazy ass sword that like drinks blood and like needs to kill, like has like a quota for like kills or whatever that needs to be met. Otherwise it makes you go crazy or something. And you couldn't wield that unless like only dragons could wield it or something. So he fought that dragon, took its arm, and then could wield Tokijin with it. I think that's how it works. Man, I should rewatch Inuyasha soon.
Throwbacks.
But yeah, very, very good one. Very good one there. But yeah. All right. Well, let's go into our last round before we kind of wrap it up tonight. Eagle, what do you got for your last pick?
I think I got Itachi Uchiha's weapons for his Susanoo. The Sword of Totsuka and the Yata Mirror.
Yes.
Which the Sword of Totsuka was a blade that could seal any person or thing that it pierced into its gourd.
Yep.
And the Yata Mirror was a shield that was said to reflect any attack by changing its chakra nature to counterbalance that attack.
Yes.
And using those two things in combination, Itachi basically made his Susanoo invincible.
Yes.
And Orochimaru commented on this, and he was very salty about it.
Like, man, I need that shit.
He was like, I've been looking for this shit forever.
Yeah.
I should have known your bitch ass had it. What the fuck? God damn it.
Like, I was going after the wrong Uchiha the whole time. Who'd have thunk it?
Just another testament to how cold Itachi was, how thoroughly prepped he was, and just... you know, the fact that he let Sasuke win. So,
I
don't know. I mean, not a whole lot to talk about with them because we didn't really see a whole lot from him. Literally, we only saw him in the last fight between Sasuke and Itachi, and then it was only pointed out to us by Orochimaru, like at the end of that fight when he tried to like pop off and do some shit. You know?
Right. I'm not going to have a whole lot of input on this either because my fucking Naruto memory is buns. especially the later into the series you go,
But yeah, I mean, that's really all we had on it.
Yeah.
But it's just unfortunate, you know, because those are two really cool weapon concepts that I feel like could have been used to do some really cool things in the series, but yeah.
But then it just turned into fucking Pokemon battles and and just like not as technical, you know.
Power. It was a power series after.
It just became like raw power fantasy where it started out with such like technical, you know, power system and ninja related strategy and tactics, and it still has those later. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to make like the same like trite complaint that like everybody who talks shit about Naruto makes about how that stuff is just like entirely gone later, and it's not. You know, it really isn't. But it does move farther away from that original concept that I personally fell in love with than I would have wanted it to. I mean, that's really all it is. But that's a good one. That's real good. I don't think I even remembered the actual names of the weapons for the Susanoo. So that was a cool little. Thanks for reminding me on that.
Yeah.
Mello, what's your last pick?
Okay, my last pick is actually like super mundane. I think it's a really good, because like, you know, we talk about how weapons are really cool because they're like interesting or special or like there's all these like gimmicks to it. But I also feel like a good weapon is reliable.
Yeah.
And so my third pick is the Arasaka Type 30 bolt action rifle that is used in Golden Kamui by Sugimoto, Ogata, everybody in that series. Like, it's used by 50 different people in that series, okay? Like, it's used by everything because it was a really good thing. Like, they used smaller rounds than the Russian bolt rifles at the time. Ogata comments that, like, you can shoot a man about three times without killing him, but, like, you know, with accuracy, you're gonna be able to, like, really beam people. They're great for sniping. They're good for hunting. I think that, like, the addition of having a bayonet attached to it, like, they use it as a bludgeon with the butt. They use it as a spear to hunt bears with the bayonet. Like, they use it for so many different things. And the fact that it was one of those, like, cartridge-fed bolt-action rifles, you were able to have 5 rounds to do that. And then, like, a little bit later, it's not by Arasaka, it's by a guy named Nambu, but, like, in the series, it's by Arasaka again. Mm-hmm. They have the Type 38, like the year 38 bolt-action rifles, and that adds the this gets into the manga. It's a little spoiler. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But, you know, you get the little ladders. They add the ladder sights, and it increases the punch, like the firing power. They changed, like, the bore, and, like, they changed, like, the shape of the bullets, because the bullets used to be, like, rounded, right? Like, as a throwback to old musket balls and the things. The cartridges, the Type 38 was when they started implementing sharpened points on bullets. And that's why Ogata was like, I want this. It's wasted on you, Sugimoto. Yoink. This is my shit.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
So, like, yeah,
Yeah. No, keep going.
And the thing is, like, they were able to use it as because the Type 30 and the Type 38, they were using sealed bullets. They had moved away from black powder bullets like they did with, like, the Murata, like, single shot musket where they're hunting the bears and stuff. So being able to have a gun that functions even after it's been soaking wet in freezing water, like in that waterfall scene.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I think consistency, damage, and, like, versatility is really important. Plus, it has that really cool scene where, like, because it's a bolt action, Ogata was able to, like, disarm a guy by getting up close and, like, sleight of hand stealing the lever, the little bolt thing, the primer.
No way.
So he does that in the manga, and when he's trying to, like, assassinate Sugimoto, he's just like, psych, can't shoot me. And then Sugimoto's like, it's a bayonet.
You forgot this shit could poke you, didn't you?
He's like, I'm Sugimoto the Immortal. I don't give a fuck if you stab me.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, I feel like that was, like, my big sleeper pick.
Yeah,
because, like,
for sure, dude.
It's one of my favorite. I love Golden Kamui, and the fact that they take a lot of care into portraying weapons realistically.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I haven't done Golden Kamui. I read, like, the first volume of Golden Kamui on Twitch, like, over a year ago, and I enjoyed it. I just haven't been back to it for whatever reason, you know what I mean? But I definitely should get back on that, because, like, I see you talk about it all the time, and there's a couple other people that really harp on me to read it, and I think Yato is one of them.
Morning Haze is a big fan.
Morning Haze too. Nice, yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
that's my big boy.
Yeah, the last one that I had on my list was also Chastiful from Seven Deadly Sins. So Eagle kind of like, yeah, it was, yeah. So now I'm just like, I didn't even, like, I looked back at my list and was just like, oh shit, we already talked about that. I should probably go find another one. And now I'm just, like, looking up lists of, like, the best.
I mean, you already had one. One of yours got taken by chat pretty much too in Power Poll. So you've done 3 really.
Yeah, for sure. I had the Power Poll.
We could probably just go with, like, runner-ups or
yeah, we could do honorable mentions. I just have, like, a list up now of, like, the best weapons of all time in anime, and it's, like, just reminding me of, like, really cool things that we've seen, like the fucking hyper density seals that fucking Night Eye uses in My Hero Academia. I remember thinking that was, like, such a fucking cool little, like, you know, technique, like, weapon, whatever, inside of My Hero Academia.
Sleeper, maybe not a sleeper, mainstream one, you know, that is Asta's swords, you know, Demon Slayer, Dweller, destroyer and slasher. You know, he's got good versatility in his 4 swords that he can, you know, use in a bunch of different ways. And
I wasn't sure how to qualify weapons for some of them. So like I avoided using like Nen items or like the Black Clover magic weapons. I was like, okay, if it's a magic weapon, it's a thing. I mean, like if it's a weapon, yes. But if it's like based off an ability or a spell, I was like, no, I'm gonna avoid it. Like I was like,
that's fine.
I was
logic.
debating.
That's fine.
I was debating whether or not to include auto mail.
Oh wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I was like, do I bring it on with like, because I was thinking of like the M1913A like crocodile, and I was like, that's definitely a weapon. Like that's like, and then like Lanfan, like the elbow spike. I was like, all right, yeah, those are definitely weapons. But I was like, it's also prosthetics. I don't know, like.
Yeah, my logic for it is like I kind of stayed away from like items that, you know, are kind of manifested through a power system, or I think I wanted to stay away from like Gundams and mechs too. You know what I mean? Just because like I wanted to just keep it more conventional, more orthodox. Like what comes to mind when you think of a weapon? You think of like a gun, a sword, a fucking scythe, you know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera. So like full body mechs and shit like that, I just like left off my list, even though I could talk about like G Gundam, you know what I mean, and shit like that. Because
burning hands.
Yeah, it's like erupting, burning finger, burning finger. Yeah, that shit's always hard. Someone's got the fucking Death Note on one of these lists. That's a good one, man. Though. Fuck, dude. Okay, so just to say something different, just be like keeping it inside of 7 Deadly Sins. I really like the Sacred Treasure Gideon that Diane wields, just because like one, earth powers are like among my favorite in like anything. Like if you have the power to manipulate and shape, you know, rocks and earth and the ground and shit, like that's always, you know, some of my favorite shit. Diane, Toph from fucking Avatar, The Last Airbender, etc., etc. But like what's so cool about Gideon, one, the design is fucking amazing. Two, it makes so much sense in the hands of someone who can control the earth. Because like when you hit it on the ground, it's creating like a shockwave, obviously, because it's a big stompy hammer, and then that shockwave can turn into the manipulation of the ground that it's like, you know, running into. And the way that it was represented in Suzuki Nakaba's art was just like always so fucking cool to me. The abilities inside of 7 Deadly Sins in general were just always heat. You know what I mean? Like that was one of the things that Suzuki Nakaba had down pat, was just attack names, aesthetics, and just overall vibe of combat was just brilliant inside of 7 Deadly Sins. That's something I'll never be able to take away from,
I think we've got
from that series.
A few valid runner-ups and shit, even a few ones that could have been our main picks here within these Sacred Treasures, 7 Deadly Sins, man. We got Courthouse, Bond's Holy Staff, like a 4-section staff.
It was 4 sections. Kurshus, that's right.
Kurshus, and of course, of the god Divine Axe, Rida. He said, "Come, god damn it, bye." Yo,
no, the tightest scene with Rida.
Lost Vein.
Yeah, the Lost Vein is tight. We could just like have this last little like conversation that we have just be about just the sacred treasure. That's actually a really good idea, Eagle, to just talk about the sacred treasures inside of 7 Deadly Sins, because even though the storytelling for that really tapered off and like went to shit, you know, towards the end or whatever, the actual content that makes up the world of 7 Deadly Sins is just like so fire. But the tightest moment with Rida was when fucking God, what is that commandment? Why can't I remember anything tonight? I feel so dumb. My brain is
honestly,
talking about Estarossa.
No, the very first commandment that we see. No,
you're talking about
Galan. Galan. Okay, right? Yeah. Galan, Galan, whatever. Holy fuck, dude. But no. No, the tightest part with Rida is that like when Ban and old girl are running away from Galan, and Galan is just fucking playing golf with boulders, just shooting fucking giant boulders over the horizon with his giant lance and shit, making it rain on them. They run into Escanor's like little hut or whatever, and Rida is like above the bar behind like young or skinny dorky Escanor, and then Galan gets there and he starts drinking and he's like, all right, we're gonna play a game of chicken basically. Boom, 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 boom. And then he's like, oh my God, that's a nice axe you got there. And he goes to go pick it up and it drops on the ground like hard as hell, and he's like, damn, this is way heavier than I thought a one-handed sword would be. So this is clearly a two-handed sword, or I mean a two-handed axe. You know what I mean? Because of how heavy it is. But the guard only has room for like one hand. Like that's like the weirdest axe I've ever seen. And then you haven't seen Escanor for a while. He's been like off screen for a little bit. And then you just get like an off panel like dialogue bubble that's like, that's because it is a one-handed sword, or he's like, that's because it is a one-handed axe, and then it's just buff big body Escanor like grabbing Rita with one hand and just like cutting him in fucking half, bro. And I just
he just like cuts him like at an angle too, and he's like his arms all disconnected, and he's like has to suck himself back together, like what the
Yeah, no, dude, that shit was fucking.
The Lost Vein, tight as fuck too, man. Like where you can just. I mean, really, that's like across the board in any series. That's a formidable weapon ability to be able to make 5 clones of yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Like if you go from having to fight one motherfucker, now you got to fight 5, 6 motherfuckers. Like,
right. And that was
the
coolest thing about Lost Veins' ability. What was it? Physical clone is because it makes. Like I think I remember the explanation of physical clone being like, these aren't, shadow clones or whatever. Like these are actual just carbon copies of me. Like it's literally like you're fighting another me from like head to toe. You know what I mean? Like it's not like lower durability because it's a clone or anything like that. Like if you killed a clone, that same attack would have killed me type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the real me. And that was always something that was really cool to me. I'm actually going to look it up now. Physical clone Lost Vein. I just want to get like the explanation off the wiki for it. Where is it? Physical clone. Here we go. Lost Vein's special ability that allows Meliodas to create up to 4 or 6 clones of himself. The clones only retain a fraction of the original's power, with one clone having half the power level of the original. The halved power level is divided among each additional clone. Oh, damn, I don't even remember that. Each physical clone is still able to use full counter to its full potential as the attack focuses on the enemy's attack power rather than the one using full counter. This allows Meliodas to use full counter multiple times on the same attack. Depending on the enemy and Meliodas' power level, it is additionally possible for him to use his clones to fight the enemy as well as dealing and taking damage without Meliodas himself getting involved in the fray. Okay, so that's not exactly how I remember it, but that's still just cool to get the explanation on it. Fuck yeah. And then who else? What are the other ones? What was Merlin's sacred treasure? Did we even see that before? I think I remember us seeing it before the hold on, sacred treasure.
What were some of your guys' honorable mentions, to be honest? Kind of curious.
Oh man. Fuck, I didn't even really have that long of a list of
I had Lost Vein, I had Dragon Slayer, but that got brought up already.
Yep.
I had, honestly, Excalibur from Fire Force, Arthur's sword. Badass.
Oh, just like, that's a cool one.
Blade, and it like has to be, like he has to be mentally and physically kind of like in sync, and
it only works with if the spirit is right,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when it does, he pops the fuck off. And then I also had from Fire Force the Iron Owls, Maki's weapons that she basically controls, uses as like mobile flying fucking fists and shit that she'll just like fly around and like crack the fuck out of you with them. And eventually they install like cameras on them, and she uses them as like drones and shit for recon as well, which is tight. So
hell yeah. I had one of them on my honorable mentions list was the laser Excalibur sword that Saber wields in the Fate series. It's the invisible like energy. The invisible energy blade. Yeah, that shit versus Berserker was like so fucking insane, bro. I just remember.
Yeah, we had a lot of people in chat talking about Fate Stay. They're like, "Oh, gay bulg," and like all that stuff. I had stuff like
what do you got?
I had like 2 that kind of was like, so there's like the steam guns from like Cabaneri. I thought that was kind of cool because I liked seeing some of that, like doing that stuff. I wanted I didn't know if I could count the explosives from the sheep guy in Juni Tyson, the Zodiac War.
Oh yeah.
because I
Dude,
felt like
Juni Tyson. Oh man.
because I had a ton of weapons. Like when I was like, you were like, oh, best weapons in anime, and I'm like, Juni Tyson had a ton of weapons. It was a fucking great anime.
Yeah. So
like,
you're talking about Sheep.
Yeah, Sheep,
And
the old man that like exploded everything. Yeah, I was like, you know what, that's a good weapon because like a good weapon is tactics, and like his big bomb was the thing that like the old timer, literally like a pun,
is what it's called. Yeah,
pun on the bomb, old timer. And I was just like, yes, it's got a pun, and it clinched the fight for Nezu.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was literally the deciding factor in everything. And I remember when Sheep was kind of like talking about his strategy going into the Zodiac War, and he was like, all right, no matter what happens, at the end of the day, I'm old, I'm way past my prime, I can't deal with these young bucks. We got Ox out here, the fucking genius of slaughter. We got fucking Boar, who's just like crazy trigger happy blonde chick that like is just insane. Fucking we got Usagi, the fucking rabbit, who's just like serial murderer,
necromancer.
Like, like literally like horror movie like slasher villain basically with what was also a necromancer. And he was like, these motherfuckers are too tight, so if it comes down to it, I got this old timer right here, and it is guaranteed to kill anybody that's inside of its blast radius. Yeah,
so good. I loved that. It was like, yeah, that was my honorable mention for that thing, because like initially I was like, oh, manga stuff, so I was like thinking like Vagabond, like the Kusurigama, that like Kohei or was using against. I was like, yeah, because like I love the Kusurigama. It's so
that's
cool.
like one of my favorite weapons, man. My homeboy Zay is reading the Breaker right now, and he's going through New Waves, and there's that fight between Ginny and that like fucking crazy pigtail chick who has the Kusurigama.
Yeah, she's tight.
They're fighting on the side of like a fucking semi, you know, and it's the fucking chain is whipping around everywhere. The scythe is going like into the fucking into the car of the freight or of the semi and shit, and the driver's like, what the fuck's going on back there? Holy shit. He's like almost dies and shit. I remember that. That shit was awesome. But man, I just had another honorable mention, and I think I just lost it. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Kusurigama got me. I was just like, oh, that's like one of my favorite weapons. I forget what I was going to say.
It is. I know. I wish Vagabond would get animated, straight up. Like,
oh, one of my main ones that I forgot, Stain's sword. I don't even think it has a name, but that to me
it's like rusty, raggedy, chipped sword.
When you saw it, like that was one of the most chilling fucking weapons I've ever seen in anime or manga. Like when you saw it, it was just like, yo, this sword has killed many people in a gruesome ass way. Like not a clean cut. Like you have a jagged ass rusty tetanus cut.
Yeah, I was about to say that shit look like it'll give me tetanus.
20 other people that has not been washed off.
Dude, honestly,
survived. Now you got Hep B, A, like all yo.
Honestly, I thought that the item really like that sword really spoke. Like once I figured out his ability, I was like, oh, that's genius. It's a chipped blade. He's probably missed a couple things, or people have blocked, so like the blade is chipped, but like the jagged edge makes it easier to drag and like get more blood out of people, and that's the point. I'm like, that's beautiful design.
Damn, I didn't even think about it like that.
It's beautiful design because like all his blades are serrated. Every single one of them are serrated.
Yo.
Yeah.
Moonfish's teeth from My Hero. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't know. I was like, I don't know if I can count that as a weapon. That's
not Moonfish's teeth. Oh my god.
Shout
Shout out Kira, that was brilliant. Dude, no, because Moonfish's teeth were scary as shit in fucking in that forest ambush arc. Yeah. I just remember being like, they need to kill that motherfucker first. That dude is insane.
Yeah. Dude, I like that Tokiyami just went boom.
Oh yeah, when his fucking dark shadow went crazy.
Yeah.
Like he grabbed him and then like dragged him through like 50 trees and then let him go.
Yeah.
Impact. Nox. Dude. Morning Haze is saying the smiling sword from the Breaker. Was that the one you were thinking of?
No, it's not, but yeah, fuck it. Let's go. Because it's like smiling sword is so dope. even though it's like a more of an energy based thing than like an actual weapon, because like the thing inside of the breaker is that like you have sword classifications of capability. So basically the first one is, you know, regular sword training. You get a katana and you become a master with a katana. And then the next level is that anything is a sword in your hand, a toothpick, a fucking toothbrush, a fucking lighter, you know what I mean? I'm just like looking at things around my fucking shit, you know what I mean? Like anything that you can hold in your hand can become a sword because of your chi control and your chi manifestation limit and like things like that. And then the final form is the swordless form, you know what I mean? Where basically you can just concentrate your chi and have it leave your body, you know, and manifest as it leaves, you know, your hand in a way that just mimics a sword. So now like your finger is a fucking sword because it has energy trailing off of it in the shape of one. You know what I mean? So that's always just gonna fucking slap inside of anything. You know what I mean? Like if you can extend your inner energy in a way that creates weapons, like just like raw concentrations of energy that can, you know, slice through shit, like that's always hard. But then like just keeping it inside of the breaker, you got Mamungi, the southern supernova, who like uses the fucking kukuri blade. If you're using a kukuri blade, like you're already one of my favorite fucking characters. Scary. Yeah, just like giant fucking machete, basically. Like you're like going back to you know, slasher films, basically. Like you always have like that kind
Rabbit of use those.
Yeah, that's
Rabbit
right.
Rabbit definitely used them.
Yeah, Rabbit from Junie Tyson used like 2 kukuri blades. Yeah, that's right. Fucking love that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I think that'll do it, right? I think we had a pretty hearty conversation.
That's all my mentions and honorable mentions and mentions.
It feels good to be back at the tie-ins, man. I feel like weird, like not having a beer, because like this is like the chill, you know, like laid back, like, you know, general conversation where you can just kind of, you know, have one with the boys while you talk about, you know, shit you remember. But, you know, drinking water here, but nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. This was a vibe, man. This was cool. I'm glad that we're back on the tie-ins. I thought, like, you know, in lieu of jump coverage, since it's on break, we would be a perfect time to bring back this show. This will not really be on schedule or anything like that. It'll just be like more of like a whenever it makes sense and like we kind of like have the will to want to do it kind of thing. So just follow us on Twitter, join the Discord, things like that, and then you'll be able to get updates on when we're doing this show again. Hopefully a lot more frequent, you know, now than it has been in the past. I feel like it's been close to like a year since we've done a fucking tie-in episode. The last one we did was like best couples, and that was in like February of 2021. So yeah, super happy to be back on the tie-ins, man. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. If you guys have any, you know, questions, concerns, want to hang out with us and talk with us about anything, hit us up, you know, in Discord or whatever. If you're watching the VOD for this, comment down below and let us know what you thought about the conversation. Throw your favorite, you know, weapons in the comments section, and yeah, join the convo with us as best you can. But yeah, that'll do it, man. What else we got? Oh yeah, check out the description down below for links to follow us on Twitter and other social media. Listen to the Project Manga podcast wherever you normally listen to podcasts. There's ways that you could support the brand by visiting our online store or our Patreon. The Patreon is going to give you things like early access to the weekly Shonen Jump reviews, additional manga reviews in general in the form of like our book club and things like that. We also have an entirely separate weekly Shonen Jump, or just weekly manga review show, where we cover 6 more stories that we don't cover on the main YouTube show, including Undead Unluck, Kaiju number 8, Don to Don, and Elusive Samurai, and Ranger Reject, and Shangri-La Frontier. That's all of them. So that we're covering those weekly over on Patreon if you're interested. But yeah, with all that said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here tonight. I'm your host, Knox.
Eagle.
And I'm Mellow Yenis. And one last thing.
Oh, yeah, what you got?
Thank you, Frize. But shout out to our sponsors, you guys, and Artesian Builds. So if you need to get a new piece, you can use our code, get a nice part for a good discount. And I know that if you like watching live stuff, they do live builds of custom orders on their Twitch stream. So yeah, check them out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have that in the description for you as well. Actually, Artesian Builds will get you up to $200 off your rig if you use our promo code Project Manga. But all right, that's it. We're out of here. You guys have a great rest of your night. You know where to find us. Discord.